Alright guys, back to the video again. Trying to keep up with regular posts. You know, I kind of enjoy doing the videos. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my last LB7 injector video. Got another Duramax kind of related video. More or less a, I would call it a 2007 to I believe 14. Now don't quote me on this, it may go later than that, and it may go earlier than that, what we're talking about. But we're doing heater core, and I'm not sure if a lot of people know this about this body style truck. A lot of Chevys you have to take off piece by piece. Every piece panel has to come off. These aren't like that. They do what I call is a hinge out. You only have to take a few certain pieces apart, and the whole dash panel, tie bar and everything comes right out. No issues. So we're going to get started on that here, and I figured I'd bring you guys along this time. Alright, so we just started digging in here. Not much to it. Just, like I said, just started on it. You want to take the A-pillar trim off here. Pretty simple. 2 10mm through the O-crap bar. But the thing I really wanted to show you was the good old telltale that your heater core is bad. And that isn't water, that's coolant. I don't know how well you can see that or pick up on that big puddle of coolant on the ground, but it's coming from the heater blocks. It's dripping right down from there. So, you know, there's nothing in here that has coolant in it except the heater core. So it's pretty easy assumption that's what's wrong with it. So I'm just going to keep digging, and I'll just kind of bring you guys along piece by piece. So we'll come back. Alright, so as you can see, there's a 4 10mm bolts, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 over here. Take those off after you get that speaker plate off. Obviously, like I said, take the A-pillar trim off. Then you're going to jump down here, take your seal plates off. There's like a plastic trim that goes right here on your kick panel. Take that off. There's like a little fuse bus over here, or a junction box. This is what it's more or less called. These all just go in there. Pretty simple connector, really. This just flips. It's like a gateway kind of thing. Of course, I can't do it one-handed, but so it's a flip mechanism. Undo all that, because I don't know if it described it good or not, but this side of the dash is basically going to hinge out, and we're going to set it right here on this passenger seat. So we do have to disconnect the driver's eye shaft and the intermediate steering shaft, so that it gives us enough room to hinge it, because we got to be able to get this side over far enough. So if we didn't do that, it would only come out slightly. But there's not much that holds these dashes in these trucks. This is a GMC Sierra, but this is going to be the same for a Silverado. This is the same for a Tahoe Suburban. It's all the same. And like I said, I'm not sure on the years. I've done a bunch of these. This may even be with the classic body style 2000 to 2006. It may even do that. It's been a long time since I've done one of those. But, so, like I said, I disconnected this. What I got left here is there's a 13mm there. I already took one of them out. The other one is right there. That's the one I took out. And then this side's done. So then I'm going to jump over there. There's those same 2 13s in this side panel here. I'm going to disconnect the eye shaft. I've yet done that. And then I'll get back with you guys. And as far as I remember, I think that's about it. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. So, I'll put that into the video whenever I realize what I'd forgotten before this will hinge out. But like I said, ain't much to this. It's pretty easy to do, easy to work on, pretty convenient, we'll say. See, what did I just tell you guys? I knew there'd be something I was forgetting. There is a bracket right here with a couple 13 millimeters in it that you need to take out. And this might not be all I forgot, but it's just the first thing I ran into. So take these bolts out. Don't forget. Okay, so the couple other things that I forgot. There are two 13 millimeters down in right there is where one went, and there's one that goes over in this vicinity somewhere. You just kind of got to look down through there. It's hard for me to get it on camera. And then there's also a 15 that went way up by the brake pedal. It goes straight up, basically. Boy, I'm having a hard time getting that on camera too. But so there's a 15 that's going to go right up in this area. Just what you're going to do is just, you know, look straight up by the brake pedal. There's going to be one 15 millimeter there, and then that's it. This dash is ready to be pulled, and so you can see it's still looks 100% complete. So we'll go ahead and yank it out and get it into what they call the service position. Alright guys and gals, as you can see, I got the heater box out finally. I didn't record too much of me taking it out, only because there's nothing really too much exciting about it. I'll give you a quick glimpse under the hood what you have to do. Well, this is a diesel, obviously. They're a little more of a pain in some ways not. So you got to take this battery out. Then there's a bunch of 10s that hold it against the firewall. You can see one of those holes there. And some are bolts, some are nuts. I mean, you're just gonna have to go. I believe there were 7. There's one there. There's one in that other hole. It kind of spun in the plastic part, so it is out even though the bolt's still there. The one that's a pain in the rear on this, the bolt I left in there because it's such a pain to get to, but it is way back there. You'll see by that exhaust, the up pipe where the EGR connects. Not sure you can see that. I don't know, I'm trying to shine my light on it, but yeah, back in there, that bolt that goes through the firewall is a little tricky to get to. I'll just tell you what I do is go through right where the tip of my flashlight is, down through here, and you can kind of get it with a long extension and a 1/4-inch swivel. So you're just going to search for those bolts along the firewall. They're always 10 millimeters. And then you'll get the box out. And the box is nothing more than, once you get the box ready to come out, there's a little ground on the passenger side up by the windshield. You just take the 10 millimeter nut off of it, and boom, you're set. I already pulled the heater core out of it, and I don't know if you can see in there, but this thing was leaking. Holy cow, was it leaking. So it's definitely a good call on the heater core, but like I said before, there's nothing inside your interior that's going to cause a coolant leak except the heater core. Now, I know there may be some rare instance where, you know, you have some auxiliary coolant running through your dash or something. Maybe like I've worked on a bunch of vet trucks, we'll call it. And they have, for some reason, they have heater and air conditioner lines going to the bed, and sometimes they'll run through the cab. I've seen that. So maybe on that instance, you would have that. So Just something to think outside the box for, but like 99% of the time, coolant leak inside, heater core. So already got the heater core out, like I said. This customer authorized, it was a good idea to also replace the evaporator while we're in there. And I mean, it didn't have, it was full of charge. I sucked the charge out of it. That was something I forgot to mention. So, you know, it's just full of charge. So you got to suck your Freon out and then recharge it when you're done, even if you weren't doing the evaporator, because you got to disconnect the lines here for the heater case to come out. But other than that, not too bad of a job. Super easy compared to other heater cores. Sometimes you have to completely dismantle the whole dash, so that's kind of a pain in the butt, piece by piece. You see this just hinges right out. You set it on the seat, and bada bing, you're off to the races. Actually, I'll be honest with you, the hardest part is getting the tens out of this thing. But as far as getting the dash into service position, that's pretty easy. But I'm going to go ahead and split this case in half. If I was just doing a heater core, there's just a little cover that bolts on here, holds the thing in, the heater core in. Would have been done already, but I am going to try to flush this out a little bit. It's pretty full of coolant. So I'm going to split the case, change the evaporator, clean the case out, and I'll get back with you guys. Alright guys, so just after, there's a couple Torx bits that hold this box on. Wasn't nothing to take out. I can't remember how many there were. And there's also little clips that go around the outer edge of it. It doesn't take long to get that apart. I didn't film that. Ended up taking this evaporator out of here, and it did look like it had been maybe slightly leaking. You see the dirt on it. That dirt is usually caused by oil leaking out. Dirt just naturally doesn't collect on those things, so I mean, it may not have been leaking a ton, but it was definitely a good decision to make, putting that on. But then on the heater core and the evaporator, there's this foam that comes with it, and you don't want to disregard that, because what's going to happen is air is going to flow around the either heater core or evaporator and not actually do what it's supposed to do. So that foam is like a sealer, so you should definitely put that stuff on. It doesn't take any time at all, so it's just like a sticky backed kind of stuff, so not that big a deal. And then there's one thing I didn't mention before, but there's an evaporator temperature sensor. It seems strange, but you got to push it into the evaporator. You're going to want to push it into the fins. Don't push it into one of the core sections, otherwise you're going to have a leak. So just, you could take a look at where it was at in the old one and kind of figure it out from there. Then the only thing with putting this box back on was just make sure everything lines back up, and you're good. Alright guys, so this is basically the mode you put your truck in if you want to steer it from the outside. It's really convenient. Anyhow, enough joking aside here. One thing I forgot to mention to you guys, I was thinking of it after the fact, but I know I said to take all these bolts out. You do, but then I always thread one back in, just a couple threads, and that's kind of what holds this side of the dash up, because you don't want the whole shooting match falling out, because it will, the whole thing will just hit the ground on this side. You kind of want it to become the hinge on this side, so that's all I've ever done. You could in theory, take the whole thing out, but I never have. I've never seen a point to. This gives you more than enough access to do what you need to do. You guys watched me take the dash out, or take the HVAC box out, reinstall it. There was absolutely no issues with the way we had this set up here. So this is what I would recommend you do. It's what I've always done. But like I said, you know, if for some reason you needed to take the dash out, super easy. You know, then you would just then you would have to disconnect. There's connectors that I didn't undo on this side. This junction box here, there's a fuse box here, a couple other connectors you'd have to undo to actually be able to remove the dash. So we're just ready to stick this dash back in, set it back up the way it's supposed to be so you aren't steering from the outside of the car, and we'll get this thing back together. Alright guys, got the truck all finished up here. Well, got two things left to do. First thing we got to deal with is the tires I had to flatten to be able to fit it in my garage, because it has this dump bed on it. So right now my compressor in the garage is dead, so we're going to use my auxiliary air compressor and fill up the tires on this thing. Okay, so here we go. We're at my auxiliary air compressor. We're going to use the air on my deuce and a half to air up the tires on that thing. I recently put just a quick coupler straight to an airline for situations such as these. So I guess we'll get to see if this thing starts and drive it up there and air up the tires. Alright, let's try this again. Getting a little something. Come on, girl. She's a little cold-blooded. Might have got her. Set our hand throttle a little bit. Leave her warm up a minute. Holy rip. Okay, so that was an entire pain in the butt, I will tell you, to air those tires up from that deuce and a half. But it's done. So something you guys are going to want to do after you do this, put a heater core, have the dash out, anything like that, is you're obviously going to want to check and make sure everything still works the way it should work. So we got good blower speed, and I always just, you know, I like to switch the modes around, and you can kind of hear it click around. Obviously you guys can't tell, you know, I can get a piece of paper and stick there, but it's coming out to defrost now, and I got it on defrost. We'll just move generically. We know defrost works, so we'll just go straight to floor. We don't need to do the bi-level. So nothing there, nothing there. It's all coming out here by the feet, so that's working good. And we'll just do the face. It's working good. Great. And, you know, radio plays. Steering wheel's good. One thing I did forget to mention, guys, you're going to disconnect the eye shaft on these. Do not let this steering wheel spin. You'll ruin the clock spring, and then you'll be into changing the clock spring out. So don't let the steering wheel spin. Actually, what I usually do, but I didn't this time, is I'll get a piece of tape and I'll tape the steering wheel to the column so you can't like spin it, or, you know, somehow tie it so it won't rotate. You could even go through this loop here and loop a piece of wire through the shifter there, just so it won't rotate a full turn around, and then you'll hook it back up. And the very first time you go to turn the wheel, you're going to get an airbag light, and that just means you broke your clock spring, so you'll be in changing that. So don't let the steering wheel spin. Something else I got to do. I'm actually going to start this thing. Yeah, I left the glow plugs off too long. Because the key was on. Let's see. There we are. See, with a good cycle, the glow plugs will fire right up. I want to just check the coolant real quick. Oh yeah, we're good. Nice and full. Oh, smoke. So yeah. And then I usually, this is nice because it has rubber floors. I was just able to hose this out with literally a hose and clean her up real good, because you end up leaking coolant onto this floor. If it does have carpet floor, you're going to want to put something down, some piece of plastic or something. So when you pull this box out, not the dash, but the box itself, the heater hoses are still going to have coolant in them, and it'll just inevitably spill here. So just be mindful of that. But other than that, you know, nothing to it. It's super easy job. Again, another job I just did right here in my garage at home. The only thing I really had to do was I took it to work to charge the AC back up. I took it there to suck it out too. You should really have the Freon sucked out of it so you don't have any issues. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Just let it fly. So you don't want to do that. So definitely something anybody could do in their own garage. I did it in my, you know, smaller garage at the house here. So if you guys like this video, definitely leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to post a lot more things. I usually do a lot of duramax work, but you know, I work on a lot of other things too. So hopefully I'll see you guys out there in the future, or more or less. Hopefully you know, you guys will subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.